Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so pharmaceutical supply chains. We all know they're incredibly complex webs of manufacturers, distributors, you name it. And lately, everyone is completely obsessed with artificial intelligence. We're talking predictive forecasting, machine learning, and yeah, it sounds incredible. But here's the ultimate question we gotta ask. How do you know if your organization is actually ready for it? Before you go dropping millions on some flashy AI solution, you absolutely need a baseline. Let's dive right into it. All right, so what we're looking at here is the AI Readiness Assessment Template for Pharmaceutical Supply Chains. This was put together by Fortunate Blembe and RX Alert Africa. Now, at first glance, I know it's a massive, complex dashboard packed with all these dimensions and maturity scales. But seriously, don't let it overwhelm you. This single document is essentially our master roadmap today. It strips away all that AI hype and forces organizations to take a hard look in the mirror. We're going to break this whole template down piece by piece. To make sense of it all, we've got a clear path ahead. We'll be hitting 5 key areas. First, the AI Readiness Challenge. Second, measuring technical foundations. Third, assessing people and processes. Fourth, calculating the final score. And finally, number 5, from assessment to action. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the AI Readiness Challenge, specifically evaluating adoption and scale. So right at the top left of this template is its core purpose, and the wording here is super deliberate. It's about evaluating an organization's readiness to adopt and scale AI solutions. Notice it doesn't just say buy AI. This isn't just about whether your IT department can run a cute little pilot program in one single warehouse. No, it's about systemic readiness. Can you actually successfully integrate this technology and then scale it globally without completely breaking your existing operations? And why is getting that scale right so absolutely critical? Well, tucked down at the very bottom, in the footer, we find this incredibly powerful mantra. I love that they included this. Right medicine, right quality, right quantity, right time, right place, right patient. That right there, that grounds our entire conversation. When we talk about AI readiness in pharma, sure, improving profit margins and operational efficiency is great, but ultimately, we're talking about patient outcomes. A delay in the supply chain or a tiny failure in quality control can literally be a matter of life and death. AI can absolutely help secure this chain, but only, and I mean literally only, if you're actually ready for it. Moving on to part 2, measuring technical foundations, and what we call the data dependency. Okay, so to evaluate your technical foundations, the framework uses this really straightforward 1 to 5 maturity scale. This is how you're going to score every single dimension of your business. A 1 basically means very low readiness. You're essentially starting from scratch. A 3 is moderate, meaning, hey, you've got some capabilities, but there's significant room for growth. And a 5 means you have very high readiness. You are basically best in class in that specific area. Getting this baseline scoring mechanism locked in is vital because it means those subjective gut feelings about your tech stack get replaced with cold, hard, objective ratings. Now, take a look at how the template actually weights these different dimensions. It's kind of surprising. Data availability carries a massive 20% weight in your final score, making it the absolute most critical dimension on the board. On the flip side, governance and ethics carries a 10% weight. So why the huge disparity? Well, it's because this framework recognizes a really hard truth. An AI without reliable, accessible data is just an empty algorithm. Data is literally the fuel that makes the whole thing run. So what does a perfect score, a level 5, in data availability actually look like in the real world? The template gives us some very clear criteria. First off, your data must be integrated across functions. That means your R&D, your manufacturing, and your logistics departments cannot just be sitting in isolated silos anymore. Second, the data has to be demonstrably accurate and up to date in real time. And perhaps most importantly, it has to be accessible and usable formats. Look, having petabytes of data locked away in old, unstructured PDFs, that doesn't help an AI model at all. To be truly ready, your data needs to be clean, connected, and ready to be consumed by algorithms. All right, that brings us to part 3, assessing people and processes. This is the human element. Now, when we look at the readiness dimensions, technology infrastructure, so, your cloud systems and servers, is assigned a 15% weight. But right below it, people and skills holds the exact same 15% weight. Honestly, this is a bit of a wake-up call for a lot of companies. Having state-of-the-art servers holds the exact same importance as having people who actually know how to use them. It's pretty simple. If your team rejects the tool fails. And tied directly to your people is the processes and SOPs dimension, which, you guessed it, also holds a 15% weight. Here's the thing. Before AI can optimize a workflow, that workflow must actually exist on paper. If your entire supply chain relies on informal habits that live entirely in the head of a warehouse manager named Bob, well, AI cannot help you. Digitizing and standardizing your everyday operations isn't just a nice to have, it is an absolute prerequisite. Let's move on to part 4, calculating the final score. Time to look at the math behind the maturity. The instructions provided right at the top of the template lay out this really simple 3-step mathematical process to keep everything completely objective. Step 1, you and your team sit down and rate each of the 7 dimensions on that 1 to 5 scale we just talked about. Step 2, you multiply your chosen maturity score by that dimension's specific weight percentage. So you multiply by 20% for data availability, 15% for people, and so on. And finally, step 3, you simply sum up all those weighted scores. Doing it this way prevents a company that has, say, a brilliant IT team but terrible data from tricking themselves into thinking they're fully ready. In the template we're looking at, the author actually gives us an example calculation, and it results in an overall readiness score of 3.3 out of 5. So it sits right in the middle of the dial. But what does a 3.3 actually tell a pharmaceutical executive? To answer that exact question, the dashboard includes this super useful readiness interpretation guide. Let's break it down. A score between 1.0 and 1.9, that means you are flat out not ready. 2.0 to 2.9 puts you in the early stage. Now, our example score of 3.3 falls right into the yellow zone, moderate, or the building phase. This means the foundation is definitely there, but significant gaps still remain. You'd actually need to hit a 4.0 to be considered ready, and a 4.5 or higher makes you a fully AI-enabled powerhouse. This table is great because it gives leaders a really clear, unambiguous reality check. Okay, bringing us home to part 5, from assessment to action. Let's talk about bridging those gaps. Because let's be real, a score means absolutely nothing if you don't actually act on it. Down at the bottom of the dashboard, you'll find a checklist of recommended next steps. This basically guides leaders on exactly what to fix based on their strengths and gaps. Scored low on the human element? Okay, check step 2, invest in data and AI skills. Scored low on SOPs? You gotta look at step 4, digitize and standardize key processes. It's a prioritized punch list. You literally cannot just skip to step 5 and start developing AI use cases if you haven't first checked the box on your data quality. It really enforces discipline. And that leads me to a final, pretty provocative thought, which is drawn directly from the bottom right corner of the template. Once you have built your foundation, what is your potential first AI use case? And what is its impact going to be? The framework actually provides 3 empty slots for this. It demands that you don't just build AI for the sake of having AI. Before you write a single line of code, you have to define the exact problem you are solving in the supply chain and figure out how to measure its real-world impact. Whether that's predicting medicine shortages or optimizing cold chain logistics, your very first use case sets the tone for your entire AI journey. So, based on everything we've unpacked today, I'll leave you with this. Is your organization actually ready to fill in that blank? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it helps you build a smarter, safer supply chain.